Is your Cricut machine mat looking a little bit like this? Absolutely covered in little bits and completely lost its stickiness. Now, of course, you could go along to CraftStash, the UK's leading source for craft products and inspiration, and buy yourself a new mat. But of course, being a team of dedicated crafters, we want to share our top tips with you for how to clean your Cricut machine mat so that you can increase longevity and just get the most out of it before you have to replace it. Now, it's really easy to do. I'm going to take you step by step through different stages depending on really how dirty your mat is. Now, my mat looks like this. As you can see, very little tack on it at all. So I'm going to get cleaning it. Now, if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video, and let's get on with learning how to clean our mats. Now, as you can see, mine has got bits of paper all over it. It's got dust, probably pet hair because I've got dogs and cats as well. And it really has lost its tack. There's no way anything's going to stick to this. When I run it through my machine, it's just going to move about and I'm not going to get a good cut. Now, a clean mat is essential for a clean, sharp cut, which is really important to know. If you find that your paper is ever so slightly moving, or maybe you're getting that feathered edge, I think the first place for you to start is cleaning the mat. Now, I'm going to take you through a few different stages of this. So the first thing we're going to do is simply take any tool that's got a flat edge. Now, I've got a mixed media scraper here. Cricut do their own tool for this as well, but even the edge of a ruler would be perfect. Ideally, you don't want anything that's going to scratch the adhesive on the mat. And we're just going to push away as much of this dirt as possible. So just pressing down in one direction, and then go in the other direction too. And you can see already that has taken off quite a lot of the dirt and the dust. It's all there for you to see. So this will have increased the stickiness a little bit, but we really want to get that tack back to how it used to be. If that doesn't completely clean your mat and you're not happy with how tacky it is, you can go to the next stage, and that is a sticky lint roller. So all I'm going to do is run this over the surface. Now, already I can see that I've got lots of dust and glitter all coming away onto the stickiness of the lint roller. Make sure you're rolling in the direction of the paper, otherwise you'll just end up pulling it off. And if you do have one that is a new sheet of sticky, you may also find that that is sticking quite a lot to your mat. So it's ideal to probably run it on your clothes a little bit first to reduce the tackiness, and then start running it across. Now that has taken it a step further, and as you can see, it has increased the tackiness, but it's not perfect. So the next stage is a wet wipe if you still have bits on there that you need to remove. You don't want any wet wipe though, you want one that doesn't have any alcohol content. If you have alcohol content, that is only going to break down the stickiness, the glue that is on your mat. So I'm just going to take this water only wet wipe, and you can find these in the baby care aisle at the supermarkets. They usually say 0 alcohol or pure water or something like that on them. And I'm just going to rub over the surface. So as you can see, there's still a lot of dirt on my mat to come away. So you can keep doing this until you're happy that that wipe has taken up as much as possible, and you do need to let that air dry. What you'll notice is while this is wet, it won't be sticky, but as it dries, the stickiness will increase and it will come back. So do be patient with it. Don't try to dry it off any quicker than air dry. Don't try taking something like a paper towel to it to dry it, because that's just going to add more fibres into it. Now, while we're waiting for that to dry, don't forget that you can get everything that I'm using today in the way of my Cricut mat, my machine, my tools, all from CraftStash. CraftStash is the UK's leading source for inspiration and, of course, craft products. Now, we do have things like our best price guarantee, our VIP membership, where members will save 10% plus get double points and priority dispatch. And we also have the option of next day delivery. Now that that's dry, you can see that I can pick that up. That is sticking much, much better now, but I can still see some pieces. So I'm going to take this to the next stage. Usually I would do this maybe once or twice a month, that's all it would need. I would always scrape my paper pieces off. I would occasionally use my lint roller if I've got a lot of dust on there, but I would only give it a wipe down occasionally. Now the next stage, I would do this very rarely because it is something that will eventually wear down the adhesive on your mat, but it really will bring it back to new. Now for the ultimate clean, I've got myself some warm soapy water with some washing up liquid in it and a sponge. Now I'm not going to use the scouring part of the sponge, I'm only going to be using the soft part. If you use anything that's going to scratch the surface of your mat, so for example metal tools, they are just going to end up damaging the adhesive over time. So I'm going to go over this and I'm going to build up lots of soap, lots of bubbles. I'm going to give this a really good scrub in the same way as we did with our wet wipe, but we are adding more water here and more pressure as well. So working around in circles, working hard at the areas where you know you've got a lot of wear and a lot of dirt and dust. Now when you've finished, you can go and run that straight under a tap and leave it to air dry. Now while that's drying, let's take a look at another few ways that we can achieve really clean cuts with our cutting machines. Always ensure that your blade doesn't have any small fibres around the tip of it. So if you remove the blade from the machine, make sure that the blade is showing as much as possible and just check for any small fibres of paper around there. Do not touch the blade, it's obviously very sharp, but you can take some tweezers and remove any fibres that are sitting there. You also want to ensure that there's no bits of paper sitting around the base of the machine inside, and you can put everything back together. Another tip is to try and use different areas on your mat. Now, particularly with Cricut, the design is always brought into the top left-hand corner and it's tempting to always use that area, particularly when we're using small designs. So you can move that design around on your mat before you send it to cut, and you can use other areas. This just means that the wear and tear on your mat is spread evenly across the mat and not concentrated on one area. Now once you send your project to cut in Cricut Design Space, for example, make sure that you are choosing the correct cardstock for your project, and also you can lessen the pressure if possible. I would always suggest using the least amount of pressure needed to avoid any damage to your mat. Now my mat is completely air dried. It has got increased stickiness, as you can see, and it is just like new again. Now you can do this many times until eventually there will come a time where you will need to replace your mat because the adhesive has worn down. When you get to that stage, of course, come along to craftstash.co.uk or craftstash.us to shop all your digital cutting machine needs. My last tip for today is to make sure you are always using the cover that comes with the mat while you're not using it. This is going to increase longevity of your mat, keep it sticky, keep dust and little fibres away from your mat while it's stored. I have written with a permanent marker that this is my Cricut Joy mat, and that way I ensure that I don't get it muddled up with any of my other crafting materials. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, everyone. Please do subscribe to the CraftStash YouTube channel for more tips, techniques and tutorials. We do have a dedicated Cricut Joy machine playlist and you'll find that just here.